channel, Make It Better podcast. I'm your host, Singh, or you call me Dave for short. And today we have a very, very special guest. Because he's the master of the mind. He has 2 national championships on national memory, right? And his name is Ron White.
Oh, well, thank you. First of all, thanks for having me here. Really nice to be here. I'm a 2-time USA memory champion. I used to hold the record for the fastest to memorize a deck of shuffled cards in the United States. They shuffled up a deck of cards, they set it on the table in front of me, and they said, go. I picked it up, looked through it as fast as I could, memorized it in 1 minute and 27 seconds.
Wow.
And I held another record. I held the record for the longest number memorized in the United States in 5 minutes. It was 167 consecutive digits.
Mm-hmm.
They let me look at it for 5 minutes. They take the paper away. They give me another paper, and I wrote it out.
That's amazing. And I heard you memorized like the 2,400 names of the Afghanistan memorial. The names. Is that correct?
So that is correct. So after September, I've been teaching memory seminars for as long as you've been alive.
Right. Okay. That's awesome. You know?
Yeah. 1991, around there, I'm guessing.
I'm
right?
born. Yeah. 1991.
Yeah, that's when I started
amazing.
doing memory
so
for a
what,
living.
33 years.
Yeah. 33 years. It's going to be 34 years soon. But so when September 11th happened, I had already been teaching memory seminars for a decade, 10 years in. But it was a time in our country when I felt I should enlist in the military. So I joined the military, and then I ended up serving in Afghanistan in 2007.
Wow.
And so when I came back from Afghanistan, that's when I started breaking the records, setting the record for the fastest.
What changed there? Like joining the military kind of helps your mentality better? Or you said you were doing it before joining the military?
Yeah. So, I don't think joining the military really impacted my memory other than
it just boosted you. Like you don't want to do the military. Is that what it is? Or,
well, so actually, I was going to compete in the USA Memory Championship in 2007. But I got sent to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And, when I got back, I competed in 2008 and I came in 4th place.
Wow.
And I was actually very happy about that because I knew if I could be in Afghanistan for a year, get off the plane, go compete in the national tournament and get 4th place, if I trained a little bit for this thing, I could win it.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I trained and I won. But there was really no shift in my memory from before the military.
So
or
the
after.
mentality was just the same. What was your mentality going to the championship?
The first time I competed, it was 2008. And I had been teaching memory seminars for 17 years at that point. So I felt a little bit of pressure, to be honest with you. Most of these people were doing memory as a hobby. None of them were doing it for a living at that point. None of them. There was 1 or 2 past champions who had retired and then started to do it for a living, but none of them who were currently competing. So I felt a little bit of pressure. Man, I've been teaching this for 17 years. I don't want anybody to know that I'm that guy. I filled out the application Ronnie White, which is my legal name.
Oh, okay.
Ron White is what I teach memory seminars under. I thought that might trick a few people up, but it didn't. Chester Santos, the reigning champion, I walked in. He goes, "So I read about your career." I'm like, "Oh, great." But when I competed in 2008, I just wanted to fly under the radar. I didn't want anybody to know who I was. Chester Santos figured it out because I just wanted to see what it was like.
I see.
And I did. And when I got eliminated, I knew why I got eliminated. I knew the event. And I said, if I can master this event, this one event, I can win this thing. And so I just went all in and mastered it.
Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. Let us know more about your background. How did you get into the memory mastery field? What intrigued you? Were you a smart childhood? Were you gifted? Were you a prodigy when you were a child? Or how did that work out? What gave you the interest to pursue this field as a memory master? Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, growing up in the 80s, I was a teenager in the 80s. There was a guy on the Tonight Show. Johnny Carson was the host of the Tonight Show in the 80s. And Johnny Carson had a guy on the Tonight Show 27 times, and his name was Harry Lorraine. And as a fan of the Tonight Show in the 80s, it wasn't like TV today. There wasn't 300 channels to choose from. There was 3 major ones. And so I watched the Tonight Show. And Harry Lorraine would go out there and he would memorize a magazine for Johnny, or he'd memorize a bunch of names in the audience, or he would do magic tricks.
Oh, I see.
And I just was in awe of this guy. And about the same time in the late 80s, there was a guy on an infomercial named Kevin Trudeau. And he had a mega memory course. That was the name of it, Mega Memory. It was an infomercial, you know, late night TV. That used to be real popular too.
How old were you that day, like when you saw that?
These, it was my teenage years, 15 to 18, 14
Damn,
to
so
18.
you started really early.
Yeah.
Got intrigued.
Well, see, I got interested in it then, but I had no idea I was going to do it for a living. I was just interested in it. And then when I was 18 years old, I took a job as a telemarketer, you know, calling people. It was for a company that cleaned chimneys. And I called this guy one day. I could have called the city of Arlington, Texas in 1991 had 250,000 people. I mean, I could have called one of 250,000 phone numbers. But on this particular day, I called this particular house, and this guy answered the phone. And I said, we want to clean your chimney. And he said, we don't want our chimney cleaned. We're trying to sell our house. And he was getting ready to hang up the phone. And I was trying to be a good salesman. So I said, don't hang up the phone, sir. If you are trying to sell your house.
You're out there to get the business.
Right.
Yeah, you're like, let me get this.
And I said, if you're going to sell your house, you need a clean chimney. And he said, I don't know about that, but I do need a good telemarketer. And then this is where it all happened. He said, do you want to go to work for me? I sell memory training seminars, and I'll pay you more than you're making now, which was a pretty safe bet. I mean, let's be honest. Anybody could have said that to me and they would have been right. I wasn't making any money. And I went to work for him the next day, and that was, or 4 or 5 days later, and that was 33 years ago. But the backstory on it is when he offered me the job over the phone, I hung up the phone and I thought, this is the same thing that's on the Tonight Show. This is the same thing that's on the infomercial. So I had, not knowing it, I had been interested in it, and then I got offered a job and I went to work for him. And
you could say it's like the world's way of giving you like a guidance. This is your pursuit, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. What was the conversation like? Were you like, oh, maybe this guy is just telling me just to like get me to work for him for free, or did he tell you like, oh, I'll pay you? How was the meeting like with that person?
You know, I was young. I was 18. And he was, to be honest with you, he was a little shady of a businessman.
Yeah, that's why I was curious. Like on a phone, like how I would have been the same thing too.
Well, actually, so the owner of that company, or the one who started that company, was Kevin Trudeau.
Oh,
he was the guy who had the infomercial.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I never met him because by the time I went to work for the company, Kevin Trudeau was in prison for credit card fraud.
Wow, damn. Plus, there's no computer back in the day. You know, how can you verify, some of the information?
That's true. Yeah. And, and I didn't, so I went to work for this company, but not everybody in that company was the most honest of people. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but this one, my manager, he certainly wasn't. And, he just was a little unscrupulous, but in all, I'm very grateful to him because while I did end up leaving working for him because I no longer trusted him, he taught me so much. You know, he taught me about telemarketing and sales skills. And so I'm grateful to it, but it was an adventure. People, was warning me, this guy's trying to steal from you or whatever. And
well, he gave you that valuable knowledge that will take you forever. It'll be with you from then on.
That's right.
So that's really interesting how you came from. What did you do prior to that? Were you just a teenager and then just telemarketer? That's it. And then
I had a paper route as a kid. I worked at Taco Bueno, which I don't know if that's nationwide or not, but it's a Mexican food fast food restaurant. So
what fascinated me when I wanted to book with you, because the name Memory Mastery, the mind controls basically everything. And when that came out, like you're the number, 2-time champion, I was like, damn, this person, Ron, kind of mastered his mind, basically one level of his mind because the mind is so complex. It makes us talk, walk, and everything. And this memory is the main thing because it controls your thoughts, basically. How did it happen? What processes do you have? Can you tell us a little bit of the basics of mind mastery? What are your fundamental principles?
So if you would have told me when I was 18 years old before I met this guy that one day you're going to hold the record for the fastest to memorize a deck of cards, and
Yeah.
you're going to go to the World Memory Championship. And I memorized an 800-digit number in an hour. So I
That's
looked at an
amazing.
800-digit number. They took it away, and I wrote it down.
In an hour.
Yeah, if you
800.
800 digits.
Does that apply to names as well? Like, do you do that to names and, you know, like shapes and things, objects?
It does. You know, names at the USA Memory Championship, I memorized 155 names in 15 minutes. Now that's looking at a piece of paper. It's a photograph and a name under the photograph. Then they take the paper away and they give you a new paper, and it has the same faces but all jumbled up in a different order, and you got to write the names underneath them.
I see.
So really, you can really train your mind to memorize just about anything, but it is systematic. You know, it's not a natural gift. At least now, let me say this: I do believe some people have a natural gift for memory. They do. You know, some of the people I've competed against in memory tournaments, I'm like, I know they have an ability I don't have, because no matter how much I train, I couldn't catch them. But here's the thing: what I do is, for demonstrations for memory, is incredible to most people, and most people can get to that level.
Regular Joe like me could, you know, because when I read a book or something, sometimes it doesn't process, you know, I have to read it 2-3 times, you know, and then some customers will be like, hey, my name is Michael, my name is Joe. Next time they come, we get like 200, 300 people sometimes a day.
Yeah.
And it'll be like, oh, I forgot his name. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But, you know, you got to keep that rapport to build that client relationship.
You do. Yeah. And here's the first key to memory. The first, you know, of the system that I use, there's a couple levels, a couple foundational points. The first foundational point to that is focus. Focus is the first key to your memory. Think about it. Somebody walks in your store and you're thinking, have I seen this person before? Oh, I have seen them before. What did they buy last time? Or you know, what do they think of me? What do I think of them? And you got all this stuff running through your mind. You're sizing them up, maybe, and maybe not just in your store, but just in general in life. You meet somebody, we're thinking, what do I think of them? What do they think of me? Have I seen them before? What business are we going to do? And then in that,
basically, you're building a portfolio in your mind.
Yeah.
Basically. And
in that first 5 seconds, when you're thinking all those things, what happens? That first 5 seconds is also when they say, hi, my name is Dave, or hi, my name is Ron.
Yeah.
Well, 2 seconds later, when you're looking at them and you don't know their name, it's not because you have a bad memory. 90% of the time, it's because in that first initial phase, you weren't even listening. You were focused on what they think of you, what you think of them.
Yeah, basically.
What are you going to talk about? What is this guy going to buy in my
their
store?
Attributes, what their product is.
Exactly. So what we need to do is, in that first 5 seconds that we meet somebody, is focus our brain. And by the way, this is the same for everything. You know, before you pick up a book, or as you pick up a book, before you read the book, read the back cover, read the table of contents, read the chapter summary. In other words, what I'm suggesting you do is read about the book before you read the book. And that's going to give you questions like, oh, what does this mean? I wonder if it's going to teach me this. Can I learn it? In other words, you're forming questions that your brain will read it.
As you read it.
And what are those questions going to do? It's going to focus your brain. When somebody walks into a business and you want to remember their name, the first step is to hear it. Try this. For those 200 or 300 people that are walking through your doors every day, when one of them walks towards you, ask yourself the question, what is their name? What is their name? Now, don't say it out loud.
Yeah. Think it through, basically.
Yeah. To tell your brain, hey, focus on
the name. Yeah.
And that's the first foundational step to memory, is focus. You know, when I walk in, I'm going to be speaking at a conference soon. And when I speak at the conference, there's going to be 200 people in the audience. I'm going to tell myself, all right, dude, you got to get this. You got to focus, you know, because that is the first fun. And there are some things you can do to help your focus. Good nutrition and exercise helps your focus. Drinking plenty of water helps your focus. That kind of stuff.
What's your routine when you wake up? Like, do you read a book? How do you process your day? Is there like a certain routine, meditation, or something that you do that to help that? And also, like, let's say you memorize that 2,400 names. Do you retain that for a while, or does it fade away, or is it like on call, like whenever you need it?
Well, you know, the key to long-term memory is review. So let's say I memorized, people always ask me, when on the deck card that I set the record for, that was 15 years ago. People will ask me all the time, do you still remember the order of that deck of cards? And I'll say, do you know the order? And they'll say, no. And then I'll say, yeah, okay, I know it then.
I know it. They wouldn't know it,
But the truth is I don't know the order of that deck. If I would have been thinking about it at a time, it might have been a fun thing to remember. But I don't know it. And why don't I know it? Because I didn't review it. So if you want to put something in your memory long term, you have to do spaced repetition. You will have to review it tonight, review it tomorrow, review it the next day, review it in 5 days, review it in 7 days, and continue cementing it into your memory. Now, on that point of the example, I memorized all 2,400 members of the United States military that died in the war in Afghanistan. And, I recently, 10 years ago, I was writing the wall out at a college, and a college student walked up to me and he said, what about all the other people that died in that war? Why just the U.S. military? And I said, sir, I chose the U.S. military because that's the group I served with. But I will fully support you if I will teach you the memory system and you can memorize the group that you're speaking about. And I'll fully support that. And he didn't want to do that. He just walked away.
Some people, they're just there to create an issue.
That's right.
For no reason, just learn from the person.
Yeah. So, but when I was doing that, I memorized it and then I wrote it out. 2,400 people, rank first name, last name.
That is amazing. 2,400 names. I can't even remember like 10. Straight up.
Besides
my relatives and friends. Besides that,
I'll walk you through a little process here in a minute, and it'll be the fundamentals of the system. We'll give you a memory test.
Okay.
And
I hope I don't fail.
You won't fail. I'm going to set you up to win.
All right.
I'm going to set you up to win.
We can cut it.
No.
I'm just kidding.
You're going to get this. But on the point of review, it's kind of an important one. So the 2,400 people rank first name, last name in words.
Amazing.
Took me about 10 months to memorize.
Wow.
So to practice, I got a bunch of whiteboards and I started writing it down. I put them all around my office and I wrote out on the office walls,
at first hand, like with the reference, the names, right?
Yeah, well, I wasn't using anything as a reference. I was just using my memory, but I was just writing them out because I had finished memorizing them. Now I was testing the accuracy.
Hold on that thought. So with those, he said 10 months, don't you get like a mental fatigue? Like, oh man, this is too much? Or like, how do you approach it? Do you approach it, oh, this is big? Or do you just, it's just words, it's just names. Do you break it down in such a way? Because I know some people, when they see like a big task in front of them, they quiver, they shake, they'll be like, man, this is too much. They just fatigue themselves mentally.
Absolutely.
How do you approach this?
It would be so easy to psych myself out. There's 7,500 words. You start on day one, you memorize 50 words, and you're like, oh, there's no way. It would be so easy. Yeah. And if I looked at the overall project. So when I start a memory project like this, the first thing I do is look at the scope of it, how much information there is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, 2,400 people. So when I memorize, I store stuff in locations, and I'll explain that in a second. But so I was like, okay, I need 2,400 locations here. So that's really my first step. I kind of get a strategy for how I'm going to memorize it. But the second step that I do is so crucial, and it keeps me from getting overwhelmed. I always, and this is just something that I do, everybody can adapt it to them, but I always see it in 10% increments. 10%. So really, I always set my first goal to get 10% of this done. And so, as I'm going, so 10% is 240, right? So all of a sudden, my goal is no longer 2,400, it's 240. So then I'm like, oh man, I got 2%, I'm 3%, I'm 4%, I'm 5%, I'm 8%, I'm 10%, I'm 10%.
Motivates you even more.
Motivates me even more. Then when I shoot for the next 10%, when I get that done, I got 20%. When you get to around the 30%, 40%, something switches in your mind. You're like, this is actually possible. This could actually happen. But even in my mind, somebody who knows the system, knows what I'm doing, there's so much doubt because the project is overwhelming. The first time I wrote it out on a wall was February 28th, 2013. The wall takes it's 52 feet long and it's 8 feet high.
Wow.
It's a lot. Now the bottom 3 feet, there's nothing written on it, but 3 feet to 8 feet. There's words.
Yeah.
And a news reporter said, wow, man, this is an awesome display of memory. And I said, I appreciate you saying that. But you know what this is really? The memory part's the easy part. It's the easiest part. This is a display of discipline.
Discipline. Yeah.
Because anybody, I'm going to show you in a second, we'll memorize 10 words together, and you'll see how simple memory is. The difficult part of it was doing 10 and then doing 10 more and then doing 10 more and then doing 10 more and all. But once you get about 30, you got to stop and you got to review. You always have to be reviewing as you go. So think about it. When I was up to 1,700, sometimes I would spend a week just reviewing, nothing else. So it took the discipline of being able to sit there and do it and not lose focus.
You must have a lot of patience.
Well,
do you get angry at all?
Like, who's going to be watching this? My family and friends? Right. I got to answer it honestly. Right. Sure. I will get angry just like anybody else. But I think I also have the ability to calm my mind for a tap.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But review is crucial. If I didn't, when I would get up to 1,200, 1,300, if I wasn't reviewing as I would go, and then when I wrote it out on a wall to practice, the first time I wrote it out, I had 8% or 10% errors. Now, here's the interesting thing about review. So I write it out, I got 10% errors, right? Now I focus in my future review, the next day, I focus on that 10%. Then I write it out again. Now my errors are down to 8%. In my review, I focus on that 8%. Then I write it out again, and my errors go down to 4%. And that keeps going. And I just I perfect the review, then becomes focused on the errors. That's what you review the most heavily. So using that, when I wrote out the wall the first time, I got, I think, not 7%, but 7 errors. It was less than 1%.
Would you say this memory mastery, is there an age limit to it? Or have you seen that there's a limitation, or anyone that puts their mind into it can do it?
I think anybody, to different degrees. So I have had people in their 70s and maybe even early 80s in a memory workshop in a hotel.
Wow.
I have taught this to a 6-year-old little girl, and she memorized all the presidents. And when she memorized the presidents, there was 44 at the time.
I see. Can you give us an example on how you store this in your brain? 10 words like you were mentioning?
Yeah.
Like, how do you do it? What's the thought process? How do you go about it? Do you just read the name and be like, oh, it's already feeding in my head? Or is there like something else that you do, a ritual or process or steps that you take in order for you to, get that in your head, basically?
Yeah. So that's the core question of this. How is it done? And it's really all the same way, whether you're remembering names, a number, a deck of cards, the presidents of the United States, words, whatever. It's all the same core system. This system goes back to a man named Singh, lived in Greece about 2,500 years ago. So, and I don't know if this story is true or not, but it's on the internet. So I'm assuming it's true,
Simonides?
Right? Simonides. Yeah, it's Simon, like Simon Says, Simon, and then Eds.
All right.
So I will tell you this. I make the joke that I don't know if it's true or not, but it's on the internet. And I do say that as a joke. But Cicero, who was a Roman statesman, lived 2,000 years ago, in some of his writings called Ad Horenum, and there is some debate whether Cicero wrote Ad Horenum or not. Let's just say he did. 2,000 years ago, in that writing, Cicero wrote about this story that I'm about to tell you. So I don't know if this story is true or not. Okay. But if it's a fake story, it's at least 2,000 years old.
Yeah. Nobody can verify it. Yeah. It's hard to verify.
Cicero may have made it up, or maybe he was really telling the truth. But the story Cicero told 2,000 years ago is, he said in 477 BC, so 500 years before Cicero, there was a man named Simonides, and Simonides lived in Greece. Simonides was a poet, and he was called by this really wealthy man to deliver a poem at a banquet. Simonides goes to the banquet, he delivers the poem, he reads the poem, he leaves the banquet, and after he left, the building collapsed. Maybe it was an earthquake, I don't know what.
Okay.
But they pulled the rocks off the people and they couldn't identify them. The people were crushed so bad.
Yeah.
So Simonides said, well, I'll tell you what, Dave was sitting there. Socrates was there. Plato was there. You know, he was there. She was there. He remembered them based on where they were sitting. Then this light bulb went off in his head. I just remembered a room full of 20, 30 people based on where they were sitting. My mind stored them in that location. Then the wheels started turning. Could I remember anything based on a location? So what he did, and this is what, if you did, it would change everything for you. If you numbered 20 locations in your business, the front door might be number 1.
Yeah.
There's a shelf right here. Maybe when you walk in, maybe that's number 2. Maybe there's a sign that could be number 3. The window could be number 4, whatever. You could go around the room and number 10, 20 locations in that room.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time to number pieces of furniture in their house. So they walk into their front door, could be number 1. Maybe they're in a hall. Let's just do this as exercise here.
Sure.
We walk in your front door. Let's make number 1 let's not make number 1 the front door. We walk in your front door. Which to your immediate left? Is there a table? Is there a pitcher?
There's ice cream coolers.
Ice cream coolers. I love that. Okay, so number 1 is ice cream cooler.
Yeah.
Let's go around the room clockwise, and I want you to pick 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Going in a circle, 5 pieces of furniture.
Okay. Besides the ice cream, then we have chips, like gondolas for chips, and then we have beer coolers, and then we have wine shelf, and then we have a counter with the register. And then we have the liquor shelf in the back. And then we have a safe at the farther right,
What's the combination for that safe? Don't tell me. I'm just joking.
Okay, I was like, shit. Don't come to our shop.
I can help you
it's
memorize.
911. Yeah, right.
So you just, let's see if you could, I think you gave us 7 or 8 there. Let's try to list those in the same order you just gave me. So what are they?
So we have ice cream shelf, and then we got the chips, a gondola, and then we got the beer cooler.
Is the chips gondola, is that chips and gondola? Is that separate?
So in the gondola, the chips are displayed.
Okay, so chips gondola will be number 2.
Yeah, it's number 2, and then we got the beer coolers, and then we got the wine gondolas, and then we got the counter and the liquor. And so the counter has the register. I don't know if you want to include that as well, or
well, if we could get up to 10, that would be great here.
Okay, we'll do that then. We'll do the register, then we'll do the gondola behind it, which is the liquor, and then we got the safe, then we got the monitors. And then we got, what else do we have right there? A photo.
So that could be 10. That would be your this is known as the mind palette or the memory palette. It's where you can store information to retrieve it later.
I see.
So let's tell ourselves.
How do you do that? Well, you just name them, right? So what do we do after that?
So once you have them named and numbered, this becomes like a set of cabinets for you. And if for the people who don't know what your store looks like, they could do this on their own.
Okay.
They could number 10 pieces of furniture in their house, and they could follow along with us as we do this. So let's just test something out here. What was number 1? What was the first one?
Ice cream coolers.
On that ice cream cooler, I want you to imagine you open it up, and it's a washing machine, and it's spinning around, and all the ice cream in there is getting all turned around and spun up. And imagine you're putting clothes in there.
Okay.
So you verbalize it. What did we just put onto that one?
Washing machine, a bunch of clothes
turning
around. Okay.
So what was number 2?
Number 2 was the chips gondola.
I want you to imagine that chips gondola is a dam, like a dam on a river, and all of a sudden you start seeing the chips shake and the water's leaking through, and then all of a sudden it just crashes through. And the key word though is a dam. So what is on number 2? The chips.
Dam.
So now let's go to number 3. What was the third
The
location?
beer cooler.
Beer cooler. I want you to imagine a chef. So what's your favorite food?
I like Indian food.
Yeah, I do
Chicken
too.
curry.
I tell my girlfriend all the time, I'm like, let's go eat Indian food. I love curry.
Yeah. Okay.
So you got a guy over there, he's cooking some curry, and imagine he's got a sunburn. So a chef with a sunburn on the beer.
Beer cooler. Okay.
So say that out loud. Say that out loud will help you.
So a chef with a sunburn
Yeah.
in the beer cooler.
And what was on 2? The chips.
The chips gondola was damn.
And 1?
One was washing machine.
That's right. So let's go to number 4 now.
It was the wine gondola, or we could just say wine.
Wine. I want you to
Wine
imagine.
shelves.
It was the what?
Wine shelves, basically.
I want you to imagine every time you're sick, you go over there and you drink a bottle of wine as medicine, right? That wine is now your medicine.
Medicine.
So
Okay.
say medicine.
Medicine, wine.
you
Wine is
go.
medicine. Okay.
Now, number 5, what is that?
Number 5 was the counter.
So on the counter, let's imagine there's a man in a rowboat and he's paddling this rowboat and he's paddling. So what is on the counter?
The rowboat.
Yeah. What's after number 6?
There was a liquor shelf, and then there was the cash register.
So 6 would be the shelves.
Shelves, yeah.
So on number 6, I want you to imagine another dam. Same thing that was on number 2. We're going to put it on 6. So I want you to imagine that. Tell me the story you could create of a dam with those shelves.
Water overflowing. So
Yeah.
I guess we could put that because it's tequila. Tequila
Oh,
shelf.
perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
tequila and water, basically.
Yeah, there you go. So that dam breaks and it floods the
Yeah,
room with
breaks.
tequila.
Yeah, tequila. Okay.
And the one before on the counter was what?
Rowboat.
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 And the one before that?
One before that was medicine.
And before that?
Before that was
The
the chef with the
sunburn.
sunburn.
Yeah. Very good.
Okay, that's cool. That's interesting. It kind of helped me picture like what's going on when you mentioning it, you know?
So you've got 6 of them. So repeat all 6. Number 1.
So one is the washing machine.
Uh-huh.
The second one was the chips. Chips was the dam.
That's right.
And then the third one was the beer with the sunscreen, chef with the sunscreen.
Very good.
And then it was the wine gondola, which is the medicine, wine for medicine.
Yep.
And then the counter was for the rowboat. And then the liquor shelf was tequila. That's
Very
amazing.
good. Yeah.
So you picture it and then you attach whatever you're trying to remember on top of it.
You store it in a mental location. So remember I told you I taught a 6-year-old little girl how to memorize the presidents? She was 6 years old. We went around her house. We numbered 44 pieces of furniture, just like we numbered 6 here. And the first president was Washington. So on the first location, we imagined a washing machine for Washington. The second president was Adams. So we imagined a dam on the second piece of furniture for Adams.
Okay.
The third president was Jefferson. So we imagined a chef in the sun for Jefferson. And then medicine on number 4 for Madison. A man in a rowboat, Monroe for Monroe.
Wow, that's cool.
And then number 6, another dam for Adams. And she was 6 years old. You see how
that's amazing.
It is amazing, and this is the beauty of the system.
I wish I had a teacher like you when I was young. Right, remember everything.
Well, in my eyes, you still are young,
right? So,
but this is the beauty of the system. It is a simple process to learn, and you take whatever you want to remember, as long as you're focused. You take whatever you want to remember, and you imagine it as a picture, right? Pictures are the key to memory. And then you store these pictures in predetermined locations. So you number your house, you number your store, you number your friend's house, you number your favorite restaurant.
I see.
Create as many locations as you want. And then when you want to memorize something, you have to turn it into a picture and visualize it on this map.
Can I give you an example?
Yeah.
So my full name is Sukhdev. That's an Indian name. How would you process? Like, how would you think about that?
So
Sukhdev. That's my full Indian name.
Sukhdev?
Yeah, Sukhdev.
Sukhdev. So, I might think of a sock for Sukh.
Okay.
And Dave for me is always a cave.
Okay.
So every time I meet a Dave, I imagine there's a cave. And, maybe there's a bear hiding in that cave or something. If his name is Kevin,
Okay.
I imagine a cave that's
Oh, that's
caving
cool,
in.
man. That's cool. Suck and cave. Basically, you just have to fill in the blanks. You know, sock and cave, suck Dave.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
So I might imagine a cave on your face, and there's a sock. You know, it's getting sucked in your in your face. You know. So, but what? Like my name is Ron White, so I would think of a man running, Ron,
Okay.
and he's painted white, right?
So whenever you see that person again, you would think of that object, basically. You know, in your mind.
Exactly. So if
It's
you
easier to think about the object rather than the actual name.
You're
You just
100% right.
relate it to it.
You're right, and here's the reason why. Think about it. Somebody comes in your store, they buy something, and then they leave. 2 weeks later, they come and they tell you their name that first trip. They come in, they tell you their name, they buy something, they leave. 2 weeks later, they come back in the store. What's the first thing we think of? Oh my gosh, I remember that guy. I can remember his face, but not what?
The name.
The name, yeah, exactly.
You know, that's funny you pointed it out. So we have this one customer. She would only buy this E&J. It's a liquor shot, basically. And we would only, she told us her name, but we would only remember her for her E&J shot. So we call her like E&J lady. Basically,
Yeah.
the product, you remember the product because you're always accustomed to it all the time. And then if you kind of get the name, match it to it, I could remember it, you know?
You know, you're making such a good point, and if everybody can listen to this and think about it for a second, it could be the solution to remembering names. We remember the lady's face.
Yeah.
We remember the product
Yeah.
she buys,
yeah.
but we don't remember her name.
Yeah.
But if we think about it, her face and the product have something in common that her name doesn't. And that thing that it has in common is we see those. We see the product.
Yeah, we see it. We see it.
her
We just don't
face.
see the name.
We don't see
So
the
we have to
name.
visualize her name.
Exactly.
ourselves. That's where the mind works.
It's the way the mind works. And people are like, oh, yeah, okay, I know that. That makes sense. But it's so huge. It's so huge. If you can just tweak that little minor thing there and develop the habit of every time you meet somebody, turn their name into a picture. So you're going to meet somebody today. His name is Steve. Think, oh, what could my picture for that be? It'd be a stove. You know, whatever you do, see a picture. Now, here's an important thing. If you want to remember, like we just did a memory test here, if you want to remember a list of words or something for a test, a student, or numbers or a deck of cards, you're going to use pieces of furniture in a house. Names is one of the few things that you're not going to use the mind palace for.
Okay.
And here's the reason why. That lady comes in, she tells you her name. If you imagined her name on, you know, that counter over there, that's not going to help
gonna
you.
work. Yeah, it's not gonna work.
unless one day you get tested to write out everybody you met, their names, you want to attach the name to her. So when I look at your face, are you always wearing those glasses pretty much?
Yeah, all the time.
So that would be a safe location. I might imagine those glasses are the entrance to the cave. If you weren't wearing glasses, then I might imagine your beard is the entrance to the cave, or your hair, or pick out some feature. Then when you walk back in the store, I'm not trying to remember your name. I'm thinking to myself, what stood out of that guy's face? Oh, yeah, it was his glasses. What was in his glasses? Oh, yeah, a cave. I was going into a cave. So you want to pick out something unique on the face.
Basically, you're building a story behind that person.
Yes.
Yeah.
A story,
to remember it.
Exactly. A story that you can see, a visual story that starts on a distinctive feature on their face. Pick out something on their face that is distinctive. And that's the key to memory is visual.
I wouldn't say it'd be overnight thing, I believe, because you got to practice that.
You do.
You wouldn't remember like to do that all the time unless you force yourself. Then it becomes a habit. So does it become a habit for you? Like, do you meet new people and you're always thinking about that already, or you pick and choose how you apply your skills?
You are always practicing. I'll ask myself, who did I meet today?
Oh, I see.
Who did I meet next week?
Even if you go to a restaurant or a family meeting or gathering, you're always constantly like thinking about it.
Well, maybe not so much anymore. Maybe I'm more relaxed.
More relaxed.
Yeah,
back in the day.
After 33 years.
Yeah, we know it already in and out. Yeah.
But this is what I would say at the beginning when you're first learning the system. Play a little game with yourself. Every time you meet somebody, turn their name into a picture. So you're at the bank, read the bank teller's name tag, and the name tag says Jose, which I met a Jose today. Jose's sitting right over
I was
there.
going to ask you all that. Okay.
So when, let's say that I wanted to remember Jose's name, well, I would turn it into a picture.
I see.
My picture for the name Jose is a water hose. Water Jose water hose. You know, kind of sounds the same.
Yeah, it's similar.
So I imagine, he's out watering the lawn, or I'm squirting water on him or whatever.
Okay.
But I create a picture. So here's what I would say to the listeners or the viewers of this episode here. Every time you meet somebody for the next 21 days, turn their name into a picture. If you'll do that for 21 days, and let's say you just meet 3 or 4 people a day or 5 people a day, you're going to have 100 names at the end of 21 days.
Okay.
And then use every Dave as a cave or whatever you decide, every Jose.
However you want to paint that picture.
Yeah.
I see.
Keep the same picture for the name. Every Lisa, for me, it's the Mona Lisa.
Okay.
So every Lisa is the Mona Lisa. That's the only way you'll ever get fast with this.
And then you just paint the picture based on their features, basically, right? So let's say there's a Lisa right here and there's another Lisa right here. Would you remember both Lisas at the same time?
Yeah. So
because of the attributes that you kind of created, the story that you created.
Exactly. So one Lisa might have really pretty eyes, right? So I'm imagining I'm painting the Mona Lisa in her eye. The other Lisa, maybe it's her cheekbone or maybe it's her hair or something else, but I'll focus the Mona Lisa on that part of her.
That's amazing. All right. Well, cool. So, well, it's great that you shared us all those techniques, and I would like you to share a little bit more for like some of our viewers that are home, maybe their parents, inspired by your story, how you came up to be the champion, how you memorize all of this. These skills are very important. And how would parents at home do it by themselves, applying the Mind Palace, but for like little kids, something that they could do, basically like repetition, like you mentioned, like some advice that you could probably give out.
Yeah. So if I was telling parents, a good way to introduce their students to memorizing and learning, I would recommend that they just walk them through the house and number, 5, 10, I'd say depending, at least 20 pieces of furniture. Do 5 in a room. And there is some logic to that. There's some wisdom to doing 5 in a room. And here's the logic and the wisdom behind it. If you put 20 or 30, if you number 20 or 30 pieces of furniture in a room, your store is different. That's not the size of a normal
normal house.
Normal house. A normal house, 5 in a room. That's plenty. Do 5 in your living room, 5 in your kitchen, 5 in your bathroom. Number one, it's a good number for a house room. It's a perfect number. But there's also some logic behind it that if you number 5 in a room, and let's say you memorize the presidents of the United States, and then you want to be able to just say off the top of your head who's the 15th president. Well, anybody, even a 6-year-old can count by 5s, 5, 10, 15. They know it's the last one in the third room, right? So it helps you learn the numbers quicker if you stick to that magic number of 5. So this is what I would encourage the parents to do. Pick 10, 15, or 20 pieces of furniture, number them as a family.
I see.
Then pick a project that interests your family, right? And here's what I mean by that. If you're a family that loves history, you could use some history facts, right? Let's memorize history facts. If you are a family that is a religious family, pick 10 or 15 or 20 points to your faith and memorize those around the room. Pick something you can do together as a family and memorize them together. And here's because this is very important. If you don't have a goal, if you're like, okay, to memorize something, I'll number pieces of furniture, you'll never practice it. Give yourself and your family a goal, something that's important to you. So when you're standing at the bottom of a staircase and it's a huge staircase, don't think, oh my gosh, I gotta climb all these steps. No. You got to climb this step. Then you got to climb that step. Then you got to climb that step
along the way.
Exactly. And the more wins you get, the higher and higher your confidence gets. So I had somebody contact me recently. He wanted me to coach him to memorize what is in all. There's 1,189 chapters in the Bible, right? And I said, okay, we'll just do this at 10% at a time. And I didn't do it.
That's amazing.
I personally don't know it, but I knew I could coach him on how to do it because it was important to him, right? Whatever's important to you, if it's a large goal, break it down by 10%.
Yeah. I'm always amazed at how people do that. Like random videos that pop up on YouTube, sometimes on TikTok, there's like Muslim guys, they recite the Bible and the Quran. I was like, how the heck do you guys do that? Like, What kind of mental strength do you have? I can't even remember like the last 2 pages I read. And then when I saw you post that on your page, I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing because I was preparing like for other businesses. And I was like, damn, so it does work. So when you do that, let's say you read the book, does it help you retain, or just is it just memorizing words for it, you know?
So what I always tell people is don't try to memorize as you read. Don't try to memorize as you read. Get an
Yeah.
overview
Yeah,
as you
basically.
read.
I see.
But if you can read with a pen or a highlighter, and when you get to something that hey, I want to memorize this or remember it, underline it or highlight it,
I
but
see.
keep going. Then when you get done with the chapter or the entire book, you have a lot of things underlined. Go back and memorize those, using the Mind Palace system. And what that allows you to do is as you're driving in your car or riding on a bus or on an airplane or standing in line at the store, you can review and remember this. The key to long-term memory is review.
Yeah.
If you read a book and it's the greatest thing in the world and you understand it and you loved it, 2 or 3 years from now, you're not going to remember but more than 1 or 2 points if you don't have a systematic review. So don't try to memorize as you review, but do take notes or underline so you can create a list of data points to memorize that will always kind of anchor the knowledge
I see.
in your memory for that book.
That's cool. Do you have kids by any chance?
I wish I did.
Oh no.
I wish I did. Do you have kids?
I do have kids. That's why I was trying to ask you, like, how do I do that with them? And then that really, if they pay attention right now, they're just in their young age, but I want to start them young so that at least they can focus later on, discipline them basically.
Yeah. I seem to lately, I'm getting ready 51 years old. And in the last year or two, I've probably talked about kids once or twice a week.
You should.
Because it is a regret that I have.
It's never too late.
I know it's not. Biologically, it's not. Yeah. I'd have to find a relationship with a younger female.
So you could have it. You have the looks,
Well,
and the memory too.
You got glasses, but
all right, I got glasses.
My girlfriend wouldn't like that.
The thing with me was I wanted to start young because when I'm young, I can still handle them. So that when they grow up, we become like friends. Hopefully, knock on wood.
Yeah.
And then when I'm old, I can't take care of him. I'll be like too tired. I want time for myself. So that's kind of my mentality. To each his own.
To each his own. But if anybody's listening and they want an older guy's perspective who didn't have kids, I have a wonderful life. I love my life. I have a wonderful life. But I think it could have been equally as wonderful with kids. And I wish I would have done it. With that said, I am going to have the best possible life and enjoy every single minute of it and live it and I think when I die, I can have had a magnificent life without them. However, I do teach this to children. So see, I don't have to have kids to teach this. I will teach this to my friends' kids. I will volunteer and I teach at schools a lot. There is an orphanage in Texas where I live where I volunteered to teach those kids.
That's amazing.
So, they don't ever have to be
You already left your mark with all of this,
Exactly.
So it's basically your legacy. It's just those kids will take it forward, from then on.
That's right.
So that's amazing. Any last words? I want to wrap it up that you want to share. Is there anything that you're upcoming right now? I know you have a YouTube channel. Maybe you want to plug it in, and then a website,
Yeah, well, maybe just in the description of this video, I'll give you my YouTube channel and you can link to it.
I do have it, so I posted it.
Okay, yeah. So in the description, my YouTube channel will be there and maybe some more information on me. But I would like to say to everybody, don't sell yourself short. Don't sell your memory short, because what you and I just did 30 minutes ago when we memorized the first six presidents, right? Yeah. That wasn't a complicated process. Yeah. It was simple. That's all that I did when I memorized the 7,500 words. Remember, I told you it wasn't necessarily a display of memory. It was discipline, because I had to do 6, then I had to do 6 more, then I had to do 6 more, then 6 more, then 6 more, then 6 more, but don't sell yourself short. When you have a big goal, break it down by 10%, approach it in smaller chunks, and believe in yourself. Believe that a lot of people will convince themselves, I am not a good learner. I don't have a good memory.
They just psych themselves out.
They psych themselves out. And if I can get them out of that and to just listen to me for an hour and then give them a test and they memorize 20 words, they're like, whoa. So number one, be careful of what you say to yourself, your mind. If you tell yourself you have a terrible memory and you're not good at it, you're not doing yourself any favors.
Not a favor. Basically.
Break large goals down, have fun, and see pictures, and you must review. Even a memory champion. I have no idea what the order of the deck of cards was that I broke 15 years ago. If you do those things, though, you have a much better memory than you think, and I hope everybody gives it a try.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you, Ron. Really appreciate you coming in, and thank you, viewers, for tuning in, and hopefully you guys learned something helpful. Hopefully I'm able to communicate, Ron is able to communicate that to you guys. Do follow, like, and subscribe, and see you guys soon.